Hello, my name is Scott Hubbard. I'm the former director of NASA's Ames Research Center and the very first ever Mars program director at NASA headquarters. The media called me the Mars Czar. For decades, I have been leading or been involved in missions looking for evidence of life elsewhere in the solar system or the universe. Particularly, I've been involved in missions looking for the evidence of life originating on Mars. In 1999, two missions disappeared: Mars Climate Orbiter, Mars Polar Lander. One burned up in the atmosphere, the other crashed, result of engineering mistakes. So I was called to NASA headquarters to help fix the mess. Out of that came the architecture of the Mars missions for the last 20 years. And those missions have told us an incredible story. First, about the undisputable findings of evidence of past water, lots of it, water deep, and maybe a global northern ocean, water in minerals that are on the surface, and evidence of frozen water today, not far beneath the surface, a meter or two. And then more evidence, more recently, of ice cliffs and possibly even buried liquid water a kilometer or two below the surface. Along with this, more recent missions like Curiosity have discovered evidence of very complex organic compounds called kerogen, that on Earth is evidence of the decay of past organic materials. This is what would be left over on Earth if a tree rotted and left its material behind. Now, just within the last few weeks, has been an extraordinary announcement that continues to point toward the origin of life on Mars. Perseverance, some call the rover Percy, had dug up and found a sample of rock. This was near the crater called Jezero that was picked as a landing site. Picked as a landing site very deliberately because this looked like where a river would have flowed into a crater. The crater would have later dispersed its water into a delta and created something like in the US might be the big delta down near the mouth of the Mississippi River, or perhaps Rio Tinto in Spain. This sample shows evidence of what happens when a living system eats rock, when it processes rock and then creates other minerals. These minerals were tested on board the rover with a particular type of device. It's called a Raman spectrometer, but that's not terribly important. What's important is the evidence of altered organic materials is really indisputable. Now, the question is, how were those materials altered? You can find ways to do it with high temperatures, with acids, with other mechanisms that are not biology. However, there is no evidence that this particular material ever reached high temperatures or that it was treated with acids. On Earth, my friends who are astrobiologists tell me that if you presented the evidence that's been gathered thus far, they would say this is the result of a living system altering a material. So, where are we? We're at the point where this 20-year trail of missions, this architecture has led us to where I thought we would be. That we have accumulated evidence, we have found the right landing sites, we have homed in on the best spot to pick samples. We've picked those samples. There are almost 30 now on board the Perseverance rover that have been either stored there or left in what's called a cache, a little sample pile. And these are ready to be returned to Earth. And returning them to Earth using the most sophisticated instruments we have here, the most laboratories we have here, whether they're in the US or in Europe, and using hundreds of scientists, each cross-checking others' work, that's the only way we're going to know for certain that what was found by Perseverance at Jezero Crater is in fact evidence of an independent origin of life on Mars. This would be, in my view, the most stunning discovery in the history of human beings. We've always wanted to know, when we look up at the stars, are we alone in the universe? And the way to find that may be at hand, but we have to get the samples back. I really urge the U.S. Congress to pass a budget that allows that to happen, but we are tantalizingly close. What Perseverance has discovered, the presence of materials that are organic, that have been altered by what looks like biological processes, is extraordinary, and I wanted to be sure to bring this information and this discovery to all of my Starmus friends. Thank you very much.